Welcome to the 9642 podcast. This is your host, Mr. NumberNine.
And this is The Fool.
Your 96 best place to listen to...
For 10 years.
Yes, for our 10th season of our mostly up-to-date...
And unqualified. And unrequested.
ramblings of the various issues in the world of sport.
Or something like that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Christmas in December.
Woo,
Yay!
Yay! Always my favorite time.
Yep. We're going to look at all the contenders and the relegation people and the upcoming matches they have.
Yeah.
So, let's start at the top. At the moment, that is Liverpool with 37 points.
Yeah.
11 wins, 4 draws, 1 loss.
Yeah.
1 goal difference. Looking really, really good.
They are looking very good.
Their upcoming fixtures is they've got a Europa League game against Union Saint-Gilloise.
Yeah.
They have a match against Manchester United at home, West Ham at home, Arsenal at home, and Burnley away. So it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
And then go on.
And Newcastle at home on the 2nd of Jan. So just after New Year's fixture.
Yeah, Newcastle at home, and then Arsenal, away for the FA Cup.
FA Cup, yeah. Having just hosted Arsenal at home in the league the week before, or 2 weeks before they placed them in the FA Cup. So yeah, this end of December, beginning of January is a bit tough for them. Got Burnley in there, sort of soften it in the middle of the crazy season, but yeah.
This is where we decide between Liverpool and Arsenal who's going to challenge Man City this season.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because it can't stay a 3-horse race forever. Like, that's not sustainable.
Wow.
And Manchester City will eventually come back and figure themselves out. There's just too many good players in that.
Exactly.
You
know they're going to finish strong, City. So you're right. Like Liverpool and Arsenal, this is pretty much the time. Well, for Liverpool especially. Yeah, you've got resurgent United, Man United storming back up. So that's one there, and then say over the Christmas period, Liverpool, that's the big one. Burnley must win, but it's in the middle of the fixtures, so that's always the spicier one, and it's away. And then Newcastle at home. So Newcastle are not quite as up there this year as they have been in the last few years, but still obviously very good and
it could be interesting. Like Newcastle United, if they win the Champions League, they might qualify outside. Like it would be weird. Like there could be 6 teams in the Champions League from England next season.
Which would be crazy.
Someone like Newcastle, because I don't think Manchester United can win it anymore. Like it's almost mathematically impossible. And if they go to the Europa League, that's another weird thing. What happens if they go to the Europa League and win the Europa League? Or what if West Ham win the Europa League? They qualify for the Champions League, right?
Yeah.
But does that mean there's like 7 English clubs in the Champions League? Like sure, David Moyes takes West Ham to the Champions League.
That would all be crazy, but at that point, surely they limit the number of English teams down to a sensible number.
Yeah. But those teams are the ones who bring in the TV money.
Yeah. Yeah, well, exactly. So, who knows? UEFA may decide that they'll, be UEFA and go money, money, money. But, yeah. I get the feeling that they will just be somewhat sensible. It'll just be how much do they limit to? Is it limit to 5? Do they push it to 6? Maybe 7, and just drop one, the 4th place team out and go top 3 plus all the other.
So if you have 4 teams and then you have a legacy spot, that's 5, right?
Yeah.
So that's the top 2 teams. What if you also win a Champions League with a team that's outside of that top 5, which is possible for if Newcastle win. Just saying that that's still possible. Then and a team like West Ham winning Europa, that's not even unheard of. Like I could back David Moyes. He just won the Conference League.
Yeah, exactly. Well, to me, that's you have to
basically you could do what Mourinho did, which is like win the Conference League and then win the Europa League.
Yeah, maybe which is would be great for Moyes. But I'd say at that point you drop at the least the legacy spot and say England can't have a legacy spot. They've got too many people, so legacy spot just pushes down one to the next non-England team that qualifies that way, and potentially drop the 4th place as they've done in the past. So
they would still have at most. They could still have like 6 teams.
Yeah, I think they'd have to sort of accept there might be 6 teams.
But 7 out of your, given there's going to be 36 teams in the Champions League, 7 teams from one country, and really this is going to be a rare occurrence. It's not like this is going to happen all the time.
Yeah.
Would be so rare, and if this was happening, that would mean that league's team is bringing in a lot of money because you've got so many strong players. That teams from that country are consistently in the semi-finals and finals of the tournaments.
Well, exactly, yeah. So, which would have to be a very strong league. You'd think that. Well, I suppose 1 or 2 teams making it that far would be fairly consistent for the top leagues. So it'd be interesting how they draw out those numbers when that starts happening more and more as well. Like you could theoretically see that happening, having that sort of numbers of technical qualifiers from England quite often. So I'm sure they'll figure out an appropriate limit at some point. They took I remember when we first sort of had 4 or 5 or 6 teams from England theoretically qualifying because people were winning Champions Leagues and Europas and everything else, that they sort of played around with different options for how they limited it for a bit. They generally landed pretty quickly on a model that worked, so you'd assume it'd be the same. And the way I look at it is, if you've got the legacy spot, legacy's the first one out, and just push that down, because that's basically someone who technically hasn't qualified. You just go, but you're cool and you make money. So, but I guess that's a good reason not to do that, because you're like, but you make us money. That's why we want you in the Champions League, to make us money.
Yeah. Now, just to figure out how they would compare, Arsenal play PSV Eindhoven, so tough opponent away in Holland. Then they play Brighton at home, Liverpool away, as we said, and then West Ham at home, followed by Fulham away, Liverpool
in the
in the FA Cup. So you're like, oof. This is where I think Arsenal are on a run. I think they're possessed, but so are Liverpool. Like, I could see them draw and then win out the rest. Like, they're still competing.
Yeah. I think this is the way these games have sort of fallen out. It's probably better for Arsenal to sort of get those spots back, that spot back, because so they can take the draw against Liverpool, but Liverpool's got United and Newcastle in that same run of fixtures.
Yeah.
Well, Arsenal, it's Brighton, West Ham.
I think Liverpool definitely have the tougher run of fixtures.
Yeah.
I think that's unquestionable.
I mean, Arsenal does have Fulham versus Burnley, which, they've got West Ham and Fulham and Brighton, who are 8th, 9th and 10th currently. So they get 3 sort of mid-ish table, pretty decent can upset sort of teams, but only Fulham's away from home in that. So probably the only real problem for Arsenal is going playing Liverpool at Anfield, right? That's the they get to have the return for the FA Cup, so they host Liverpool in the FA Cup, so that sort of balances that out. But it's how much they care one way or the other. But I can see Arsenal, grinding up the draw at Liverpool one way or the other. They've got enough firepower, obviously, to score goals. Same with Liverpool, so.
That could be an entertaining. I don't know if it's high scoring, but like an entertaining draw where they're both like fighting each other and like possession passes along and there's like great moves,
Yeah.
But
exactly.
also, so those two teams could, that could wear them out as well, like a game like that. And it's quite early on, so that's what's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. And you say Arsenal then's got to face West Ham and Fulham, which are two decent teams. I would think Arsenal on paper should beat them both, but they've both been playing awesome this season. Last season they've been good, and as you say, that Arsenal's got to have that grind against Liverpool first. Then they play those ones. Whilst at least Liverpool goes off to play, not to downplay Burnley, but go off to play Burnley, which if I was going to have a team to play after playing Arsenal, Burnley seems like the sort of team that you want to be playing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, we are talking about Liverpool and Arsenal, but we should not ignore the third place team, which is Aston.
I was going to say before, when you were talking about it not being a 3-horse race, I was thinking
it's
technically a 4-horse race.
It's a 4-horse race at the moment. So Aston Villa have a game against Zrinjski Mostar, who I believe represent Bosnia-Herzegovina in the Europa Conference League. Brentford play Aston Villa. So then they play Brentford away. Then they play host Sheffield United. Then they play Manchester United. Play Manchester United at Old Trafford, and then they host Burnley on New Year's Eve. And then they don't have another game till January the 7th, which is Middlesbrough in the FA Cup, which is kind of a. So I think Aston Villa have a pretty nice schedule, all winnable games. Even if they sneak a draw against Manchester United, they're firmly, I think, in the top 3 still.
Yeah. I think that's almost the some of the better runs for them, given they've just beaten City and Arsenal in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So they're giving themselves a good shot. I know I saw interviews with them. They're downplaying their title contentions and the fact that they're a horse in this race, but they've made themselves a horse in the race by playing wonderfully well. And that's me talking about Aston Villa, which historically is not my favourite team, but you can't deny at the moment they're playing well. And they've got a very decent set of fixtures there. They do have to go to Old Trafford, whilst the 2 games they won were at home, so that's testing them there. But they're saying get a draw at Old Trafford, win the rest, they're going to be very, very high up in that rank. It's possible even that could mean that they're on top after Christmas.
All right. Now, Aston Villa pretty much back Emery 100%. So in January, I expect they're going to make a few signings to give themselves squad depth and to at least give players rest and rotation.
Yeah.
Especially if they are continuing on in the Conference League. I think if Aston Villa win the Conference League, this is the thing. It's so hard for any other European team at that level to beat the English team. You're talking about a club like Aston Villa and West Ham.
Yeah.
And the only reason Leicester didn't win is they came up against Mourinho.
Yeah, exactly. And like one other team that could possibly do it, and that was the one because it had Mourinho leading them. So
And that Leicester team was kind of good.
yeah,
And so if Aston Villa win this, win the Conference League, then they at least know. The thing is, like, I know that they will. That's at least a trophy for them. And if
Yeah.
they finish top 4, I think that's incredible.
that is incredible.
That is
And
what they're going for. But if
Yeah.
they're still in amongst it in the last month of the year, anything's possible at
anything's
that
very
point.
possible. Yeah,
And especially if they've bought players who bring out good form for
Yeah.
them. I don't know. Like, and if Ollie Watkins is still fit and like in form, like, he's as good a player as any in the league.
exactly. So yeah, it'll be interesting to keep watching Aston Villa as we progress through the season. I know they're very much just taking it a game at a time. Very
Yeah.
very passe sort of statements they were giving, but they were obviously also very excited after watching the post game stuff after they beat Arsenal. Beating City was amazing, and they beat Arsenal, and then suddenly people are talking about them being title contenders. They were obviously very excited about the prospect, but at the same time, we're being realistic that there is a long way left to go in the season, and the likes of Liverpool and Arsenal and City are top class performers, and
Yeah.
to keep performing at that level week in week out is tough, and that's what Villa have to do. So, as you say, January signings could make that, as you say, Villa management likely to back the concept at the very least. They may, they're going to play smart ball.
Yeah, I think Emery will at least want to get a few utility players and something for the defense.
Yeah.
And maybe another striker just to give Ollie Watkins some opportunity to rest.
Yeah, exactly.
So get the best out of him. Now, next up, 4th place, Manchester City, the defending treble champions.
Yeah.
They have Red Star Belgrade, so a champion, 2 Champions League winning clubs.
Yeah.
Then they play Crystal Palace before they go off to the Club World Cup.
Yeah.
That's going to be quite busy for them. Then Everton, they play Everton, who are on fire. Incredible. Yeah. Even with their points deducted,
I know.
They're not near relegation. That's just like...
Yeah, don't talk to her.
Probably the team Everton. Of the year. They're not... We're talking about a season where even if Aston Villa win the league, Everton are the team of the year.
Quite possibly, yeah. Which is just
without
crazy.
A doubt, but we'll get to Everton because we can't not talk about them.
Yeah.
Manchester City might not win the league anyway because they might get a 10-point deduction.
Yeah.
So we have to keep that in mind because, Everton have set the precedent.
Exactly. Well, you'd think
so Manchester City would think 10 points is a minimum.
Minimum, yeah.
They could be more because they have 150. Everton had 105.
Yeah.
So they have a significantly more. Not that it means the same thing necessarily.
No.
And it may not work that way, but we've got a precedent set here. Like, I don't think Manchester City can be penalized less.
No, especially
than
since Everton were being somewhat helpful with I know that they sort of didn't start with Everton, but once the investigation started, they were being helpful and being actual cooperative with the FA on it. Well, City has not. So you would expect that, given how City have dragged their heels and done their best to not be part of the whole process, you would think that if they are found guilty, and that there's still the if there, I think we can say that I think that it's a small if, but that's my personal opinion. That, if they're found guilty, that therefore they should have a tougher penalty than Everton. Because we've still got Chelsea as well, which I'm sure we'll get to them, that they've also got their issues, but that was self-reported, so hopefully that will, if there is any penalty there, that'll be lesser than Everton because
I think Chelsea can legitimately probably appeal to some leniency of, look, we are inherited a lot of stuff, and we're reporting everything, and we're not just to be safe, and we're not. This was stuff potentially done by the people before us, and we don't know what they're doing. So it's a bit unfair to penalize Todd Boehly for if Vladimir Putin was doing something like he was following a financial plan. I'm not saying he's doing anything dodgy.
No.
And that financial plan just doesn't work for Todd Boehly when he's taken over and bought the company.
Exactly.
And
this changes.
So I think the Premier League and the CAS can be kind of lenient if it goes that far. Chelsea, they can be quite lenient to Chelsea and be like, okay, like there are legitimate business reasons why we have to kind of give you a fresh start, starting from the Boehly era.
Yeah.
And kind of maybe wipe out the rest because the government took over and they're supposed to sort out any issues with Vladimir Putin.
Roman
Abramovich ran Chelsea. Sorry.
I mean, you meant to say that's the quiet bit, not the loud bit.
Sorry.
So Roman, of course, was in the later years was doing his best to distance himself from his friendship with Putin, but that's just it. But yeah, you're right that the three clubs have very different profiles about how they've gone through this process, and I think Everton shows. You say it's a benchmark, so that's the benchmark of having done something wrong, but once you started to go through the process, being like, cool, we will actually cooperate here, and we'll let you have access, but at the same time it's not a self-reported thing. There's no, they did things wrong. That was what the findings were. They knew what they were doing and they did it wrong, and therefore they got the penalty. City are denying it all and doing their best to hide it, and have, as I say, more charges against them. So if it ends up that they were wrong, then they should be higher.
And they have previous stuff. Just because CAS rejected a lot of the stuff from UEFA doesn't mean the Premier League have to do that.
So that would be the one thing for Chelsea that's the black mark there, is that we had the previous stuff as well that then got overturned by CAS. So,
but none of that is under Boehly ownership. So they they have an out.
They have that, and hopefully that out works, which is, hey, look, there was some dodgy stuff being done before, but we've wiped it clean now. We've sorted it out.
Even if there's no dodgy stuff, their financial plan for balancing the books might be just irreconcilable with what Todd Boehly is doing, and there's a good, there's good financial reasons that are legal and potentially even ethical, like why he can't. And they just have to give him some leniency. Because this is not like the Chelsea takeover is a unique situation.
Yeah, there is that
global
as well.
The global geopolitics led to that, so we can't. There's there's a lot of scope for them to appeal for some leniency, and if they're open and transparent, then nobody can really argue.
Yeah, and that is what they are being. They are being quite, and that's it's exactly that. Is that they're being quite transparent and being like, look, we were going through the books because of the takeover, and it's things were weird, and now that we've had a good time to have a little bit look, there's a few bits here where oh, actually this okay? We didn't really, there's these issues here, or this inconsistencies that we're not really sure about, and there's a lot of have a look and tell us how we fix it, basically. So there's a little bit of that as well, as I understand, with the Chelsea bit, which is, hey, there's these bits here which we're not sure about. And that was the previous administration, so we don't have any of the people to ask and to sort it out. So, as you say, there was different directions, different priorities, different ideals, and now it's a different ownership with different structures and different plans. So there's some that would be not able to be connected, and it's well, this is everything.
they have said Manchester City could face relegation to League One.
I think
And then have a points penalty put on them in League One.
I think technically they could even be just thrown out of the entire FA.
I don't think
it'll happen.
I don't think the league will kick them out. The league will say you are in League One, and you do this, and they'll come to some sort of agreement that Manchester City are not in like the National League.
Yeah.
Like that would be ridiculous.
That is ridiculous, and they'll sort it out. I know that. I don't think it's happened, but
they'll be in League One, and if they have a 10-point deduction, they might not get promoted in the first season, but that's unlikely. There's 4 promotion spots in League One.
Make it League 2, come on.
Even if, let's say they get relegated to League 2.
Yeah.
Just as a thing. Sorry, there's 3 in League 1, there's 4 in League 2. Of course, even with the penalty, even if they were given like a 15-point penalty, they're gonna still get promoted, and they'll probably make a docu-series about it. The guys, the Redeemers.
Yeah, I know. It's a money making.
And we'll all watch it. It'll be on Netflix. We'll all watch it.
We will. You know we will. Like, I'm looking forward to coming out already.
Yeah. Then moving on from Manchester City, the current 5th place team is Tottenham. Yeah. Another team who's had a surprisingly good run, even though they've had some injuries and the results have not been good for the last few games. Their fixture result, but Manchester City, we can pretty much expect that Christmas fixture list, they're going to win every game.
Well,
even other than maybe the Everton game, they're going to probably beat Red Star Belgrade, Crystal Palace, whoever they play in the Club World Cup final.
Yeah, that's the thing. So it's only the semi-final there, so there's another game. They'll win that, and then there'll be another game for the final. So they'll have another postponement out of the league. Yeah. So they'll only play the one league game.
That Everton game might get postponed if they make it to the final, which they probably will.
Yeah.
And then they have a game against Sheffield United, which will probably also get postponed if they make the final, right?
Not necessarily. It depends when the final is. So.
There's the finals in Saudi Arabia.
Or potentially then. It'll depend. It may or may not. Depending if it's the 28th. Is the final the 28th or 29th? Or 27th? I don't have a World Cup calendar in front of me.
Yeah, I imagine it's before Christmas.
Oh, it is. No, it's the 23rd. All right, they might not postpone either of them then. No, that's
they might just go ahead. So they might play 2 games, probably still win both. Maybe that Everton game they might lose because, they're tired and Everton are still firing. But then they're probably going to beat Sheffield United. They'll probably beat Huddersfield in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
City have a dream run. Other than that Everton game, they should get 3 points from everything.
Yeah.
Here.
They should just win everything through.
And become world champions as well.
Yeah.
Probably.
So the only thing that's probably going to stop them being top of the table after all that is the fact that they'll have at least one game postponed, so they'll have a game in hand. So they'll be 3 points behind. And
probably.
They're already 2 points behind Aston Villa, so...
Yeah. So just below them, there's Tottenham Hotspur, who are playing Nottingham Forest in Nottingham. Then they've got Everton at home, and then they play Brighton away. Then they play Bournemouth at home, Burnley at home.
Then for the FA Cup,
For the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Now, I think Spurs have a decently winnable fixture list because I think playing Everton at home, I think they can beat them. I think Everton playing them at Goodison, that's like really tough.
Yeah.
For sure. But I think Spurs, they should be getting players back. And I think once they know that their squad will get some bodies in January.
Yeah.
To help them. So they can take some they can like take some confidence before as things go on, and they know their squad is capable of playing really well.
Exactly.
They're currently 7 points behind Liverpool, but it's still very early on in the season.
Yeah. And they're only 3 points behind City for the 4th spot. So that gives them hard as well. 5 points behind Villa in 3rd. So that's not too much to make up to try and get into Champions League spots for them as well. And say, with the number of slots going up next year anyway, maybe that's helping for them. But yeah, I think you're right. Tottenham have got a lot to play for. They've got a relatively good fixture list, and they've got the fixture list in the right sort of home and away balance as well. Like going to Forest, to Nottingham, not too difficult for them. They get the difficult, the effervescent Everton, who are playing well, but they get them at home, so it takes away the crowd factor for Everton. Say playing Everton at Goodison, much different proposition than Everton coming to Tottenham, right? Playing Brighton away, Brighton, not to diss on their crowds, because they're a very good team and very good crowds, but I always feel it's not quite the same atmosphere as some of the other ones. So if you're going to play, Brighton play well as well, home and away, I feel, but I don't feel they have quite the crowd factor as others. And then they play Bournemouth at home for Tottenham, so that's those should be winnable games all the way through there for Tottenham, which will put them in good stead.
Yeah. At least if they can stay 5th or 4th, then I think, even though they're saying now that there's potential that England might lose a legacy spot, I think it's a bit overblown.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Manchester City, Arsenal, one of those two teams should make the semi-finals of the Champions League, and an English team will probably make the finals of the Conference League.
Yeah.
And probably make the finals of the Europa League. So we're good, I think.
It feels like England should be nice and high up there. They should be perfectly fine.
So, speaking of Champions League, our next team down, Manchester United, have Bayern Munich in the Champions League. Bayern Munich already secured top spot. Manchester United currently 3rd. If they win... 4th, yes.
They need to win to have a chance, and hope Copenhagen and Galatasaray draw.
Yes.
See, easy peasy, no problems.
Yeah, at Old Trafford, we'll see.
Yeah.
Then they play Liverpool at Anfield, followed by West Ham at the London Stadium, then Villa at home, Nottingham Forest away, and then Wigan Athletic away for the FA Cup. Yeah, there's some very tough games. I can't see Manchester United taking that many wins here.
No.
Probably confirm United will be unable to qualify for the next round of the Champions League, and then hopefully they can be able to play in the Europa League. And if they do, then hopefully winning the Europa League gets them Champions League next season. That's the path you want.
That's the path you want, but that does require something out of the game against Bayern. So that'll be interesting to see. But I would say if I was you, I'm not liking that fixture list for United.
No,
that's not a pretty one. I mean, you do get Forest at the end of it all, so I mean, there's that. But still, it's not pretty looking, and it feels like, as you say, there's not many points coming out of all that.
Like, Manchester United are gonna find it tough to qualify for Europe this season, unless they win a cup somehow. Basically, that's what it looks like. at this point. Next up, we have Newcastle United, currently 7th in the Premier League. They play AC Milan in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Followed by hosting Fulham, going to Chelsea, going to Luton, and hosting Nottingham Forest, and then going to Liverpool, and then, oh my gosh, a local derby, Sunderland hosts Newcastle United in the FA Cup. That game is going to be fire.
There's a lot of fire in that. That's going to be perfection.
Yeah, so Newcastle have a bunch of important games.
Yeah.
And winning those games could set the tone for this season, because if Newcastle do go on to make it to the knockout stages of the Champions League, which I think very much possible for them if they beat AC Milan at home.
That's basically what they've got to do, I think, is they've got to beat if they can beat AC Milan, that pretty much will put them through. Yeah, I think that should put them through, and of course, I guess they could win 1-0 and then PSG and Dortmund draw, and then they're equal points with PSG, and same goal difference, so then and then they'd have to win. Was that score at least 4? So 4. They only got 1 goal. It has to be a 4-3 thriller. So, but Newcastle wins. I think that settles it. And of course, some craziness happens with PSG and Dortmund. At least that puts them in the place to sort it out.
Yeah, I think they'll beat Milan. I think
so.
They can definitely beat Fulham at home as well. The way Chelsea's playing, I'm sorry to say, Newcastle in the Carabao Cup should feel confident going down to London. Going to Luton Town, on the other hand, that's a tough place to...
That has turned into a little bit of a tough spot to go, but I still think Newcastle has enough firepower there to
and then
deal with
hosting Nottingham Forest before they play Liverpool. So a very winnable run of fixtures until they play Liverpool, who play like a very tough run of fixtures.
Yeah.
So I think Newcastle could steal a win, and then they're going to the FA Cup. We'll see.
Yeah.
How that goes for Eddie Howe.
But I think I'm with you. Newcastle should win through most of that, and that will put them back into...
I could see them pushing up to fight for 5th place.
Yeah.
Now, they're not outside the top 10, but I think we should still look at Chelsea.
All right. Yeah.
Their current next game is Sheffield United, followed by Carabao Cup hosting Newcastle, as we just said. Away to Wolves, home host Crystal Palace, away to Luton Town, and then they play Preston North End at home in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
So, White.
I do like that. Those fixtures.
That's a very nice fixture list, but Newcastle are a tough team.
That's a tough team for the League Cup. I'd hope still potential we could take that. But given the way Chelsea's playing at the moment, who knows how many points we get from all this. I mean, they're there. They just can't seem to put balls in the net, basically. I mean, what was it, Everton? Everton wins with 27% possession. And 64% pass accuracy on only 259 passes. Chelsea had 73% possession, 703 passes, and 86% accuracy. It somehow still couldn't get the ball on target. It's just... That sums up what's happening, I think. So... we should beat Sheffield United, we should beat Wolves, we should beat Crystal Palace, we should beat Luton. I'll even put in there we should beat Preston, but we did our best to try and lose some Carabao Cup games early on as well, so Who knows?
Yeah. Now this is the thing. Chelsea are probably gonna just finish it as a mid-table team.
Yeah.
Like, they're not gonna get into relegation, I don't think.
Well,
They're
as
probably not gonna go. They're probably not gonna be at the business end of any cup.
No.
Actually, no. Pochettino might get them into a cup final. Don't know.
A possibility with, I know it's Newcastle, but say Newcastle, whilst they're playing reasonable at the moment, aren't playing as well as say last year. So win that into semi-finals, only 2 games away. As I say, Chelsea may be in relegation battle depending on the outcomes of those financial fair play stuff, and we were saying before they should get lesser.
If they do get
Everton,
some points,
they get the full 10 like Everton.
Chelsea as well. I think a lot of their investigations, I think, are meant to be completed next season. So regardless, even if they do get the harshest of harsh punishments, it won't take into effect until next season.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
I think they're not. I think at the moment Chelsea can, for this season at least, be like breathe easy.
Yeah.
They're not going to be They're not going to be in the relegation battle. I think.
No, unlikely. I was just noticing that we're 10 points off the relegation battle, and that's the points deduction of Everton. So.
Yeah, but Everton would just move to mid-table as well. But I don't think there's a lot of bad teams in the bottom.
Yeah, I know there is. It shouldn't matter, and we're playing most of them over this Christmas period, so. That should help.
We have to look at the most interesting team in the league, Everton.
Yeah.
Man, Sean Dyche, what an underrated manager. This is his magnum opus season. If he keeps Everton from getting relegated, so they play Burnley away, they host Fulham, they go to play Spurs away, and then they host Manchester City.
Yeah.
Then they play Wolves away. Then they play Crystal Palace in the FA Cup. Now, I don't think Everton are going to put all that much stake in the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup.
No.
They're going to go hard against Burnley and Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to defend aggressively and like play safe, conservative football, I think. And then I think they're going to try and win against Manchester City at Goodison Park.
Yeah, I would think they would try to win the game against Burnley. I know it's away at Burnley, but that's the relegation.
Actually, you're right. I think that's a win. That's a game they're going to try and win, get the relegation 6-pointer.
Yeah,
and I think they want to do that to Wolves as well, because realistically, Everton are as good as a mid-table team, whereas Wolves are like a recovering team from a relegation. Yeah. Almost got relegated, but they're going up the ladder to mid-table.
Yeah, I think the Wolves game may be the one where you're talking about, like the Spurs, the aggressive defense. Maybe that would be like, if steal the win or come away with the draw is good. I think you're right that potentially they could just say no, we're better than Wolves, so we're going to go for the win straight out. But Burnley definitely is a, given that Burnley's in the relegation. And Everton want to make sure that they really put that daylight between them and the relegation fodder. So that was one where they just go in with the mindset of win-win-win. Spurs, you say, it's the mindset of get the point, steal a win if need be. But yeah, say City at home at Goodison, let's get the crowd into it and let's really push them.
Even with their 10-point deduction, Everton are 4 points clear of the next three, of the next team below them, and at 17th, who are at 17th place. So 18th, 19th, 20th are the teams that got promoted at the beginning of the season. Luton Town, Burnley, and Sheffield United.
Yeah.
Wow. I think none of these teams are going to get 20 points this season.
Yeah. It is looking less likely as we go along at these teams.
And I think Everton are gonna. Once Everton get to 22 points, they'll be uncatchable. So I think these three teams are definitely getting relegated. They're just not gonna. Let's look at Sheffield United's fixture list, right? Going in, they've got Chelsea, then Villa, both away.
Yeah.
Then they host Luton Town. That's the relegation 6-pointer.
Yeah.
Then they play Manchester City away, and then they play the Gills in the FA Cup away.
So the only game they possibly winning is Luton Town.
Gills, they might beat Gillingham.
Oh, other than the FA Cup. Okay, I'll give them the FA Cup as well. They'll win the FA Cup.
I mean, the Gills might pull off a surprise at home. You never know.
You never know. It is at home for the Gills, so yeah. But in the Premier League, they're getting 3 points maximum out of that.
Yeah. Then next up we have Burnley. Now, thing is, even if they get relegated, they might keep Vincent Kompany, a la the way they did with Sean Dyche, and let him grow the team further in the championship.
Yeah.
Now Burnley play Everton. This is the relegation 6-pointer game.
Yeah.
Then they play Fulham away.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Then they host Liverpool.
Mm-hmm.
Then they play Everton away.
Yeah.
Then they play Tottenham Hotspur away in the FA Cup.
Yeah. So yeah.
I don't think Burnley getting too many points out of these.
No, I don't. I'm not 100% sure where they're getting a win out of that.
I think Everton are going to beat them, and I think they might not win a single game in that run of fixtures at all.
Potentially the only place they're getting points is at Fulham, and I only base that on the fact that they managed to take points from Brighton. So they might get a point from Fulham. I don't see them winning, but it could be a similar sort of 0-1 or 2-2 sort of draw. But yeah, then you go Liverpool. They're not. Liverpool's winning. The only thing there is that Burnley game for Liverpool is straddled in between two tough games. So maybe Burnley, and it is home for Burnley, so maybe they can steal something there because Liverpool's distracted by other things. They've had a tough game against Arsenal before it. I think it's Newcastle afterwards that they'll have their eyes on. So potentially Burnley might steal some points there, but it is Liverpool. I'm not going to bet that there's anything there other than a Liverpool win. It's just if there's anything there, those are the two games that maybe Burnley can maybe eye up something to take. You say, I guess it is Everton. They are hosting Everton, so that takes away the Goodison factor. But is Burnley's home enough to overturn Everton's current run of form?
It's very tough to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is the other thing. Burnley look bad. Next up, we have Luton Town, a team you and I kind of admire because they've made their hometown ground a bit of a fortress, but they don't win there. They just make it very hard to beat them at home. Now, thing is, Luton Town are playing with house money. Everybody expected them to get relegated, but they're competing and gaining respect. So people, even if they don't come back to the Premier League for years again, then we're still going to be like, oh, remember that season we had Luton Town in the Premier League? That was pretty cool.
Exactly.
They play Bournemouth. They play Bournemouth away. Then they host Newcastle. They play Sheffield United away, and then they host Chelsea.
Yeah.
And then they host Bolton Wanderers in the FA Cup. So, not an easy fixture that against the Trotters.
No.
Now, very tough to see where they're getting points here. Bournemouth are a really good team, I think. They're playing in a very interesting style. There's an interesting project happening there. Luton, Newcastle, as we've mentioned, Eddie Howe, he's gonna I think get the performances out of his players, and then it's the relegation 6-pointer against Sheffield United. But I don't think it's going to matter much because none of them are going to catch Everton.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You got the 6-pointers among those three are really just ordering themselves around how they,
Yeah, I don't think. Let's put Everton aside. I don't think they're catching Nottingham Forest or Crystal Palace. Nottingham Forest are at 14 points. They're a good 5 points clear of Luton Town. And
just
Crystal Palace are a good 7 points clear.
Yeah. I mean, Nottingham Forest do have a somewhat difficult fixture list. That's Tottenham, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Man United, before undecided for the third round of the FA Cup. So, I mean, that's not an easy fixture list for Forest, but Tottenham and Man United, and Bournemouth are all at home for Forest. So, potential points there. So Newcastle away. So, so that might be enough. They get a few points there. That might be enough just to keep them, clear enough of the bottom three to not be too much of a problem. And same with Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace is a little easier. They've got City, then Brighton, then Chelsea, then Brentford. So I think there's probably, and the two home games are Brighton and Brentford, whilst they're away to City and Chelsea. So I think
we can almost pretty much say before even the Christmas fixtures, we know who our relegation teams are.
Yeah.
Our mid-table teams are probably going to pick on them and then play defensive against the top 7 or 8 teams.
Yeah.
At the moment, basically Newcastle is the 7th place team, but they're on the same number of points as Brighton, who are the 8th place team.
Yeah.
And I think Brighton are in the Europa League as well. So they're another team that can potentially make a final or a semi-final.
Yeah,
in the
good point. Where are they in the Europa League? Brighton, they're currently second in Group B behind Marseille. They're playing AEK Athens. Oh, and no, Brighton's, they're guaranteed through to the next rounds for Brighton. They're on 10 points, while AEK Athens is on 4.
Yeah, so Brighton
Marseille's just one ahead of them by Ajax. So.
Yeah, so I think Brighton are probably going to go pretty far in the Europa League, along with Aston Villa. So it's always, but I don't think it's necessarily going to dampen their season. West Ham are still there and thereabouts, and I think after that, I don't think Fulham's going to compete for a European place, and I think Brentford are still a team trying to make sure they're guaranteed to be in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Can confirm a top 10 finish, and once you're consistently finishing in the top 10, you can start looking at competing for a European place.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're right, that's sort of Brentford's model at the moment. They're not so worried about making the Europeans, they're just making sure they're comfortably mid-table, high enough out of the relegation battle. This season they definitely are, last season. So they're consolidating their Premier League status.
Yeah.
Maybe heading forward in the next few seasons, that's when they can start thinking in terms of building a squad and getting European spots and going higher.
Yeah, I mean, they have a great stadium. It's in a great location.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunity. They're in South London. So it's a bit of a pain for a lot of people to get to, but they're very good with their local area. So it's not that huge a stadium.
Yeah.
Like it's a better situation than West Ham, where you've got a 60k stadium you never fill up.
Yeah.
So the teams, I think Manchester United are gonna just about make it to a top 6 spot, I want to say.
Well, that's
And they
the-
could. I think they will somehow sneak in a Champions League spot by either winning a Europa League or
All right, yeah.
a Champions League.
They'll find a way. Yeah,
They'll
at the
find
moment, Man United sort of leading the charge of the rest, right? Sort of the top 5 which are battling out for those spots, and then there's it's only 3 points from Tottenham to United, but it's feeling.
Yeah, Tottenham have no European football, so we have to
Yeah.
remember that's a big advantage for them.
Yeah.
And Manchester City will play more games than anybody, and once again, potentially lose 10 points. And
Yeah.
if they do, then they're 23. They're going to be below
West Ham. They'll be
West
10th.
Ham.
Yeah. They lost 10 points. They'd be currently between West Ham and Fulham.
Yeah. Now, if Manchester City get relegated to League 1 or League 2, whatever it ends up being, Luton Town might not get relegated.
That's a good point. One of those. So maybe the relegation battle is for 18th. So those relegation 6-pointers we were just poo-pooing just before about getting the order actually matter, because they if they can hang on to an 18th spot, and the City investigation concludes this year, and they get thrown out or whatever, well, there you go. Or at least before the start of next season, then that's that 18th spot could potentially still be a Premier League spot. It's that fight actually has a little bit more teeth to it.
It would be ridiculous, though.
Yeah, it would be absolutely ridiculous. It'd be hilarious. And probably for all those reasons, it's just not going to happen. It's too perfect.
I think they will just get those three relegated. If Manchester City get, let's say, relegated to League 2, they will probably put an extra League 2 team in the in League 1, which is the easiest way. They'll just put 5 teams in League 1 from League 2.
I mean,
and then you're sorted, because League 1's fine.
Yeah, or you just push everybody up one.
Yeah, you're just pushing an extra team up from League 2 to League 1, then if you're moving City to League 2.
Yeah.
And you just do normal relegation for everybody else. But if they decide that no, because they are to be relegated automatically, that saves a spot. Only 3 teams get relegated, then
2 teams get relegated. You still have to do that, right? Because even if City get kicked out of the Premier League anyway, wherever they get thrown down to, whether it's down 1, 2, 3, then you still have therefore only 19. You had all 3 relegation to leave and 3 new ones replaced. You still only have 19. You have to have 4 coming up in some way, or only 2 going down. So I would say that the easiest way, is that 18th stays up. You throw City down to wherever you are, and then everybody else moves up 1. So every league, if they get thrown down to League 2, then there's an extra team promoted to League 1, extra team promoted to Championship, and 1 team doesn't get relegated. The 18th team doesn't get relegated down. So technically, that's 1 extra team thrown up from Championship, Premiership. You just put it out.
If they get put to League 2, Manchester City, what happens to the team that got relegated to the National League? They'll just still get promoted and relegated as per usual.
Yeah.
They would they'd still need to promote an extra team from League 2.
Yeah, you're right. There's an extra. Yeah, well, I guess the question is, do they promote? How many do they promote out of the national conference up into League 2? 2? Do they only promote 1 then? The other one gets.
I think that's a bit fair.
Yeah, that's unfair. I mean, you're right.
You're basically rewarding City by not relegating them to the National League, and this other club that's legitimately got into the League 2,
No, I'm not. Now I'm confusing myself. Because technically it should all work out. all the normal relegation.
So you'll just promote an extra team from League 2 into League 1. That's just the easiest way.
I mean, it should all just work out though. If you just pull City out, put them in at the bottom where everything gets pushed up. There were still 2 teams that got relegated out of League 2. There's still 2
So
teams that come back in,
basically,
and everybody else
what
should
would
just fall out.
what will happen is the League 2 playoffs finalist, the losing finalist, will also get promoted.
Yeah, they say there'll be extra promotion up, and the same out of League 1 into the Championship.
Yeah.
Well, what'll be is out of the... No, it's the other way around. So each one going up. So the same people go up. What happens is one of the relegated teams from each of the leagues doesn't go down. The top.
No, we can't do it that way because only 2 teams are getting relegated into the championship,
Yeah, so that's okay.
and
Because-
we need to promote 3 teams from the championship into the Premier League.
But you do have 3 spots, but you have City spots. You're still promoting 3 teams out of the Championship into the Premiership.
Oh, right.
You're just
So
only
you're
relegating 2. So the bottom 2
Right.
go down, and they get replaced by 3. And the same out of the Championship
they're
into
they're
the
taking
League 1.
cities.
Only
Right.
2 go down, but 3 come up. Same from
Yeah.
League 1 to League 2. Only 2 go down, but 3 come up. And City
Yeah.
slot in. So out of the conference up to the League 2 would still be the normal promotion relegation. It's fine. The extra spot, it's just City sliding all the way down, sliding in and pushing everybody up.
Yeah.
So it should be the top spot of the relegation ones of each league above wherever City is slotted back into doesn't get relegated. So in the Premiership that would be 18th. So
Which could be Luton Town.
which could be Luton Town. So it will be one of those 3. So that's what they're
Would be hilarious.
So that's what they're playing for, is basically trying to be
Yeah.
18th and crossing their fingers and praying to the lady that City get kicked out of the Premier League this year. I mean, from those 3 teams, they don't care where City gets thrown out to, as long as they get thrown out of the Premier League, and that gives them a chance. You say maybe Forest get dragged back into the relegation battle. Doesn't seem likely. Everton's playing too good. Crystal Palace has probably got way too many points to get too dragged in. So, and Bournemouth and Wolves and Chelsea and Brentford definitely have to be worried about it.
Like I said, I think once those teams get to 25 points, it'll be obvious they're not going to be relegated.
Yeah. As I mean, looking at it, I would say Nottingham Forest, just because of their fixture list over Christmas, are the only ones that might get a little bit dragged into it, but they're also potentially not getting many points through Christmas, so they'll stay at 14 or 15.
Like that.
I mean,
Steve
it's still...
Cooper.
Yeah.
You can't underestimate Steve Cooper.
I know.
He'll figure it out.
I mean, he'll still be a good game ahead of the of relegation. So that's still a lot of there, and so I would say that they would still be able to plot their way through to not being too things. And Nottingham Forest is good enough to outpace Luton, Burnley, and Sheffield United. Really, Everton clearly a mid-table team. Just happened to have 10 points taken off them, so they'll continue to play like a mid-table team and continue to score points like a mid-table team. So they'll end up bottom of the mid-table, but still.
Yeah, and also like Nottingham Forest have super striker Chris Wood, so you know.
Oh yeah, although yeah, you could point. Forest have Chris Wood. They're not getting relegated. That is just the known. It is known.
That's
Can't get relegated with Wood. Yeah, with Wood on your team, you can't get relegated.
Yeah. Now I think it'll be super interesting. I can't wait for the Christmas fixtures. There's going to be a bunch of other games and other codes going on. Like there's going to be NFL. There's going to be some NBA. The NFL is basically going to hit its most interesting part. We will have podcasts about that, and obviously we're going to hit the summer of cricket.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to have a bunch of cricket stuff to talk about. So we'll look forward to hearing from you next about all that. But that's all we have time for today. thanks very much for listening, and look forward to hearing from you next time.
Catch you next time.
Well, that is the end. Thanks for listening all the way through.
If you liked what you heard, we have even more. 9642 Discord and a Buy Me a Coffee.
Pretty sure it's Buy Me a Beer.
Oh yeah, buy me a beer on buymeacoffee.com.
In both these places, you can talk to us, and we may even listen, especially if you do buy a said beer or coffee. I might still be confused.
Yes, we're easily bribed. All links are in the show notes below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
This is on YouTube.